welcome to the White Fox Talking Podcast. I'm Mark Charlie Valentine, and at the controls is Seb. Hello, Seb.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good, as always.
It's not what you say when we're,
no.
It's not what you say when we're not recording.
That's true. I'm a bit stressed at the moment.
Yeah, stressful time. So much work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going
People
through
think
some
we're just
big changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fair enough. And I'm commuting now. I'm a commuter, but I commute to North Wales, which is a right pain in the arse.
Back and forth.
Yeah, I'm doing that dry. I mean, it's one of them.
It's a
2.5
bonus,
hours each way, but
look at the positive side. You can listen to loads of audiobooks.
I can, yeah. Although the one I'm listening to at the minute is frightening. I'll be honest. It was one about sleep.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind putting a little series together, but this one it's goes into the science of it. 30-year studies, and some of the chapters of like, oh dear.
Does that mean we lost in life for working on doors in the middle of the night?
Yeah, people like myself that work 25 years of night shifts. Yeah, and things like not getting a solid 8 hours sleep. Yeah, all this, we're in society we have this thing that I can survive on 4 or 5 hours. Well, you can do, but it's going to catch you out later on in life. Yeah. So, a bit worrying. So, let's get this done and then we can, then I can have a snooze somewhere.
Well, who's in with us then?
Well, this is another good one. These are the ones that, instead of going out and asking people, it's when people come and talk to us and say, we might have a good story. So, welcome, Jacob Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for coming in. I know it's been a bit of a rush for you, for giving up your time. And like I alluded to there, we had a chat.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I've known you a while. Yeah. Mainly because you know Tom Thorpe. Wow.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time with Tom.
Yeah.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
And that's why you've come onto a mental health podcast.
Yeah. It's all Tom's doing. It's not Tom if you listen.
No. I've been working with Tom, and that's done it. No. So and we had a chat, and then you were telling me about before the music, before what you're doing now, being in the services.
Yeah.
And that's sort of something that I'd like to talk about. I've had some friends that were in the services, some still with us, some unfortunately not, but that adjustment that they're making to civil life. So if you could tell us a bit of background about yourself, and then we'll get into, if we could, how you got into the services, what you were serving in and how long, etc., and then see where we go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off by saying that I definitely need 8 hours sleep.
Do you?
I'm up for sleep.
Right, yeah.
Sleep is my new thing. I love it. So you're right on that one.
See, you're not the first guest who actually said this. We had Richard Cadden on.
9.5 hours, Rich.
9.5 hours.
Oh, yeah. No,
it was something like 9 hours and 18 minutes.
It worked out. Yeah.
And then we had Emma on, who also said her ideal sleeping time is 12 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
12?
Well, apparently, female require more sleep than men.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why, but it's been a study. But
do you know what the thing is about this book? And I suppose we've all done it in the industries we worked with. Is you're trying to get more done, but you're not probably getting as much done as you think, because you're not as efficient, and you're losing bits of your brain, to be fair.
More ways than one.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to you.
Yeah. On the sleep. My name's Jacob Kelly. For those that don't know me, you can probably guess by my accent, I'm not originally from Leeds, although I can't really hear it anymore.
Right.
But I'm originally from the armpit of the UK.
What, Bradford?
No, the other armpit. the other armpit. Weston-super-Mare.
Right.
So, although I
thought that were a made-up place.
Well, if you went there, you'd think it was. I do pretty much dress it up that I'm from Bristol.
Right, okay. Bristol's a nice place.
Bristol's beautiful. Bristol, I've been living up here for over 20 years now, 24 years. And I've said that if I ever move out of Leeds, it would be back to Bristol or abroad. I couldn't. Right. Leeds and Bristol are my two favourite cities in the UK. So it's born in down south, and moved up to Leeds 24 years now. Married to a proper Leeds lass.
Yep.
Leeds runs through her, and we've been married 18 years.
Well.
so it was a quick turnaround when I moved up.
Right.
So yeah, and there was the story of how I've ended up in Leeds is part of the reason why I'm here, and to talk you through how I went from being in school, leaving school, going in the army, coming out of the army, and then trying to adjust into civvy life, as you call
So
it.
if I was to ask why, because there's people have a multitude of reasons for joining forces.
Yeah.
How come you decided from school to go into the fort? What was school life like? And then,
So I'm going to tell you about my story.
yeah,
Okay. Now, my story is my story.
yeah,
But from being in the army and being surrounded by other kids, as we were when we joined the army,
okay,
I can tell you that the story that is personal to me is also relevant to a lot of people that join at that age.
How old were you?
I was 16.
Okay, yeah.
I was 16, so we go right back. My mum and real dad divorced when I was 4, and then I was brought up by my mum till I 11 years old, when my mum met another, can't even really call him a gentleman,
Right.
and then from the age of 11 through to 16, I was what I would have called not brought up but beat up.
Okay.
So, and I just want to point out at this point, before we go any further, it's not a sob story, this.
Right.
I have no regrets, I have no remorse over how my life's panned out to now, because where I am now is the happiest place I've ever been. So, there's no, oh, woe is me on this. This is all, a positive story.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is sort of a good point for getting you in, really, isn't it? Because people go through these bad times. I know quite a few people that have ended up joining the forces that have had, like, stepfathers come in or different partners, and there's been violence, and it's been it's first chance to get out, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then most of them seem to be in a better place now, and this is why we want to get people on like yourself, so that people that are not in a great place may be inspired by that. So
there's always a way through. I mean, my experience with that part of my life, it was a hard one. I'm of a vintage of an era where things were different. I don't want to say kids are lucky nowadays, but we're all lucky in our own rights. But back then things were looked at differently, and whilst all that was going on at home, none of my family really stepped in to intervene too much. My mum couldn't do anything. She's smaller than me. I'm a small person. He was a big person. None of my family really stepped in.
Right.
Is what I would do if if it was my son or whatever. So back then, was that all right? I don't know. Looking back on it, it probably wasn't. But. So yeah, the way out of it is, like you say, was to try to get out of that situation, join the army.
Yeah, I think, I'm just thinking then, people of our age.
Katina.
Well, what I'm thinking is, so of our age, you've got that where it's like it could be a generational pass on, and my mother and father were born just after the war.
Yeah.
And you've got all that trauma that went on during the war. Yeah, I was talking Second World War, so that, and seems like a long time ago to us, but they've had to live with the after effects of war, and then the actions of people that were probably traumatised.
Yeah.
And then that gets passed on and passed on and passed on.
It does. You can only change your attitude towards something once you step out of it. If you're brought up, like you say, if your parents were brought up in a way, then they're going to bring their children up in a similar way. Unless they really want to step out of the way that they're brought up, and it takes that person to kind of just step out of it and change the way that they look at their relationship with their kids and stuff. It's hard though, it's like you say, it's a generational thing. You know, and like I said, I don't want to say that kids have got it easy. That you know, these days, there's just different.
I think it's different these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know when I was at school, my definitely, I don't know if we spoke about this, definitely the deputy head. Oh, he was big on violence.
Yeah.
Cane and slipper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the cane?
Oh, all the time.
Did you?
Yeah. No, yeah, I wasn't even a bad kid. I was talking about this the other day because I actually...
Don't believe it.
You know, a little bit of high jinks, high spirits. But I actually saw him, I don't know if I'd mentioned this before, I actually saw him in a supermarket probably about 10, 15 years ago, and he must have been 80 then, and I thought, shall I just pick him up and throw him in the freezer? Do you know what I mean? Because what he'd sort of instilled, I mean, is that, you know, that violence makes it all right.
Yeah.
You know, not makes it, you know, sort of that's the punishment instead of, you know, kids or young people now.
But then again, was it his fault? Because
Exactly,
he's probably been told this is the way to deal with it.
Exactly.
This is exactly what we're
Exactly,
saying.
that's
It's
what
a
we're on about.
generation. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're bad, you get punished, and that's how you get punished. You either get a slap, you know, with a slipper, a cane, or in my case, a good hiding. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
You know, I used to go into school with black eyes and bruises, you know, and it's just like.
See, whereas I'm in a generation, I got hit in school, but I kind of made a fuss out of it and then didn't go to school for half a year because I said I was traumatised. I wasn't.
Yeah. You just wanted time off.
I just want time off. Just
Well,
play
I
the
got hit by a
system.
teacher, so all right.
Yeah.
And
Just-
things were changing, and it
Yeah.
wasn't the right thing to do. And my parents kicked up a fuss, and I was like, well, I'll get out of it.
Yeah. It's it. I mean, we've got a.
You bastard.
Missed half a year of school, wasn't it?
We've got he's 18 in April, our son Rudy, and I've seen him go through his school, you know, from taking him to school and, you know, him growing up and how it's been at school for him, and I'm just like, wow. I'd actually spend time at school and focus on school if school was like that when I was younger, you know. So
Well, you say that, but when you live in that time, you don't seem to realise, do you?
no,
It's like afterwards. It's only in the last sort of 10 years I've started trying to educate myself.
never too late.
From
as they say.
from all the time that I've spent playing up. Yeah. So obviously not a great period in your life.
Yeah, not the best, but we got through it.
Yeah.
You know.
So did that make it all the easier to join the forces? Were the forces like a sort of a bit of a saviour at that time?
I had there was a number of factors. Obviously, the driving force was my own personal situation I was in, and feeling that I didn't have. You know, I had really good mates, but my mates couldn't do anything. You know, we were all in this, you know, young. You know, they can't intervene. Family didn't intervene too much. You know, I stayed a bit on, you know, my uncle's couch, Uncle Phil, and lodged a bit at my auntie Sylvie's, but I didn't feel that I had a support network, you know, as a kid, you know, a family as such to help me. So it was like Weston-super-Mare. There wasn't a lot going on there. It's a seaside town, great in the summer for work. You know, winter, that's desolate. So I was like, well, let's go to the army. And just walked in. It was like army recruitment in Weston-super-Mare. It was like you had a shop where you could buy your cigarettes and your booze, that, and then I think a pub next door. You know, it was that, and I just walked in. Next thing you know, there we are, swearing
allegiance and
yeah,
gone.
that's it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my god, what have I done? Yeah, there it was. I was signed up, 16, and then I remember so I did junior leaders.
Right.
I'm not sure if junior leaders is still going. I don't think it is. So you could either do your 8 weeks basic training, or you could do junior leaders. Junior leaders was meant to be it was a year-long training, and you were meant to learn more about the army, and it was meant to be a bit more in depth. I think basically what it was to get the younger kids in, because you could join junior leaders at 16,
Right.
so you were ready for the real army, you know, by the time you passed out. And I can remember my dad was like, yeah, I'll drive you down to Bovington. It was like where juniors leaders were. And I was just like, why are you so eager to drive me down? Do you know what I mean? But all it was is so he had bragging rights that his son had joined the army.
Okay.
You know, I was like, great, nice one. Cheers, Dad. See you later. Yeah, and there I was, a cold December. Got dropped off, and I was met by. He probably wasn't that big, but he was in my head. He was the biggest man I'd ever seen, shouting at me, "This is your last chance to walk through those gates without my foot up your ass." And I was like, shit. Walked through the gates, and I was like, very quickly, laters to my dad, and ushered into this gym hall, which I can still smell now thinking back to it, and surrounded by a load of other 16-year-olds with the same look of fear on our faces, all looking at each other going, oh, what have we done? And there it was. I was in too deep at that point.
Was this in colour or black and white? It sounds like one of them black and white films,
Do
doesn't
you
it?
know
that
what? I think I look back on it as in black and white.
So it does. It
On the
sounds
wireless,
yeah.
all gathered round.
And them silly big shorts and little vest. So how was that then for a 16-year-old for the next couple of years, adjusting to that?
Well, to be fair, I mean, it was the first time that I'd properly been away from home life. So that was quite daunting, as much as I didn't have much of a home life. You know, my friends and, you know, I was away from the place that I grew up in.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I kind of felt safe. I felt, once I got my head round, this is going to be hard. Once I got my head round that these people, we're all in this, we're all in the same thing together. And if we get through this, it's a self-pride, you know, you've achieved something.
Yeah, like accomplishment.
Yeah, you know, you've done, you've got yourself out of that situation into this situation, and you've bettered yourself. We kind of all had that there. So we were sleeping, I think it was like 11, 12 to a room, and you got a chance to sort of, the brotherhood, if you like, build up, you know, that relationship with people. And as soon as you did that, it became a lot easier. You felt secure, safe.
Part of a group.
Part of a group, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly that. Part of a group that they'd have your back. You know, you weren't with anything. Oh, can you help us out with this? Yeah, can you help? You had people to kind of ask and rely on. You know, and you were there. You know, you were in it. You were 16, running around. Well, to start off with a bit of wood, pretending it was a rifle, because they didn't want to quite let you loose just yet. And, you know, then running around with a rifle, you know, and doing quite exciting things. Hard, yeah.
It's like the Scouts on steroids, isn't it?
Yeah.
Were you in the Scouts? No.
I was in the army.
Yes, I know he was in the army.
Yeah, we've just heard that story.
We can't bring that up. We're not allowed to talk about that.
It was good. It was good. You know, like I said, it was the first step where I felt that I was starting to go on the right track. You know, with my life.
And you had people around you, I suppose, like you said, which you've already mentioned. You didn't really feel that because of the situation at home with the violence, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I said, not everyone was in there because of the same reason, but a lot of people used that as an escape to get away from something.
So what would that have been? Late 80s? Mid to late 80s?
I joined in 91.
Oh, were you? Oh,
91.
That's me putting years on you.
Yeah. So
Right.
91, and passed out junior leaders 92
Right.
to join the real army.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And how was that? And what did you join?
Completely different to what I'd all done.
Right.
So I passed out into the RCT, which was the Royal Corps Transport, which is now the RLC, Royal Logistics Corps, which that changed. They amalgamated it in 1994. thing. I've got it on my notes as
Right.
1994. If I'm wrong, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
So I did. We've been RCT transport. They sent us up to Leconfield, not too far from here, and we all did our driving courses,
Right.
which was brilliant. And I love this at the moment because I would have been 16, 17, and with the same age as my son now, and he's just starting to learn to drive, and obviously he gets a driving instructor come and picks him up in a nice plush car. We were just literally put in a truck and said, have you driven before? No. Right, let's go out on the roads in the truck. And I was just like, what the fuck? And the advice was, don't worry, no one wants to hit you.
Right, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Everyone's scared of you. You're
Yeah.
bigger than everyone.
That's it. Everyone up here knows the truck you're driving, you haven't driven before, so don't worry, you just crack on. You know.
Wow.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I did spend, I think, I can't remember how long, until you passed your test up in Leconfield. Then I went back to a holding troop, and within the RLC you have different squadrons, and I really wanted to do and join a squadron called 47 Air Dispatch, which I think now is part of 13 Air Defence. I might be wrong. So 47 Air Dispatch was a very small specialised unit within the RCT RLC, which predominantly works very closely with Special Forces. So with the SAS, the SBS, the Paras, the Marines. And we used to fly around first off, you had to pass, I can't call it selection because that is obviously something else, but a selection process, right? Which was based on fitness and your aptitude and, you know, whether you could actually hack it flying around in a big plane and et cetera, et cetera. So I think there was something like 40 that started and about 11 that passed that. And our job predominantly was to fly around in Hercules, the big C-130 planes, which have just got
retired,
grounded, which is such a shame. Never thought I'd be emotional over a bit of machinery, you know. So we used to fly around and resupply the troops on the ground with fuel, ammunition, food. We used to dispatch Land Rovers, tanks, boats, and it was amazing. We used to just hang out the back of these big planes, you know, and out the side doors and fly low level, and it was amazing.
There's a photograph somewhere of Shorts Hercules going down one of the mountain valleys, and the guy's just sat on the back, just tethered on with the door open. You're like, I don't fancy that.
Oh, it was
I would
amazing.
definitely fancy that.
Would you?
100%.
No.
Yes, it was
I'm
such
alright
a
with my
buzz.
climbing, but I'm in control of that. Well, apart from other week when I fell off. So. Yeah, wow.
And we usually did
I would have thought.
the tether on it. You know, when you
yeah.
said the tether, what you used to have to do when you first passed, you had to do a confidence test. So, do you know old military webbing, where you just put it through a hoop and you just quick release, pull, like that. That's all it was. Right. So you had a belt that went around you. Right. That was attached to the parachute cable. And what you had to do is you had to stand on the tail. They'd lower it down and they'd call you forward. And you had to stand on the tail whilst the plane was flying, hold your arms out like in star position and just lean forward like that. And whoever was taking you through it would just come up with the other end of another belt, and just hang it over your shoulder. Just to see, you're really testing you. But it was such a buzz.
Yeah. Did a lot of people not pass that?
No, everyone passed it. But it was just like to see the look on people's face. It wasn't for any other purpose apart from their
Pure
just
pure bullying.
Oh yeah, it is best. It is best.
So your time there with I mean, that sounds like you pretty much enjoyed it.
I loved it. Went places, that I would have never have gone to, experienced things that never had.
Did you go back home in that time? As in visiting home, and what I'm just interested to how that panned out.
So, yeah, we went back. I went back on leave quite a few times. Not for a long period of time. Then things at home, after speaking with my mum on the phone and everything, checking in, I then found out, or she admitted, that he was also violent to her,
right?
Which she covered up for my benefit and for, she says my benefit, but so that was quite a big one to take on. So they actually separated, and rightfully so. So when I did get back, it was quite raw. Mum was obviously upset with everything, and he wasn't living there, but he was still knocking about. So I kind of, whenever I went home, I'd always find an excuse to bring one of the lads with me. Oh, come on, let's go to Weston, it'd be a right laugh.
We've got one pub.
Yeah.
Was that like the selection process?
Yeah.
The torture bit. Yeah.
So I'd always, Mum would love. Oh, look at these lovely boys you're bringing. Oh, Mum, it's a bit weird. But yeah, so I can remember. I remember one day he came around the house. And Mum answered. He didn't know that I was there, and he didn't know I had, a couple of the lads with me. And I can remember hearing his voice, and my whole body just froze, and I could feel the blood, like my blood boiling. And I said to the one, I just remember just looking over. I think it was Annie Oakley. I remember looking over my shoulder and going, "You ready?" Because I was like, "I'm going to rush this door, and he's going to get it." And I just pulled Mum out of the way, and I can't even remember what I said. Probably didn't even say anything. It was just probably noise that came out of my mouth. And he just kind of laughed at me, and I was just like, "You fucking..." But so I didn't. I went back, and but then after a while,
was there any physical interaction?
No, he would. Because as much as I wanted to, I just knew that wasn't the answer. Do you know what I mean? God, I would have loved to, but where's that going to get me? And the other thing is whilst I by then my mum and him had another child, so I had a younger brother.
Okay.
And it just that
complex. That makes it complex.
Beating up your brother's dad, well, having a go anyway. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't sit right at all, does it? It's like you say, it's complex.
Was that your only confrontation towards your stepfather, or did you have any? I had another one. He used to play rugby for Weston Supermare rugby team, and fair play to him. He was good. Really big club, that.
Really massive.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, massive. He was good, Got to give him props for that, I suppose. And I was home on leave, but I was with my girlfriend at the time. And there's a bar on the seafront called the Cabo, and it's got an upstairs, and that's where the club bit was. And it's got a sweeping staircase, and the bouncer used to stand on the sort of the balcony bit, not the balcony, the landing bit for the next step to go down, and you queue at the bottom, and there's one in, one out vibes, you know the score.
Door supervisor, we call it.
Yeah, sorry, I do apologise. And I remember walking down and spotting him when he was with the rugby team, and they all knew. They knew what happened to me. They knew about him and my mum at this point. This is a few years down the line. And I said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, just go. Just get out of here, because if this goes, it's going to go. I don't want you to see it. And I walked down the first set of stairs, and I remember just, dickhead, I remember standing there and going, "Ladies and gentlemen, you see this man here. he used to beat me up as a kid, and he used to smack my mum about like that, and it went deadly silent, and it was like everyone parted out my way, and he walked towards me, and he came at me with the square on punch,
No way.
straight, like,
Really?
bang, straight flat on my nose, and I just stood there, and I was like, don't fall over, and I just went, you haven't changed, and I walked out, and I literally collapsed right outside the door. Yeah,
Wow.
I was like, oh, but that was it. I just walked away from it. I was just like,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
But it was humiliation
Yeah,
for him
yeah,
in front of other people.
yeah, you know,
Which is probably a very good thing to do.
yeah, you know, there's no point in fighting.
No.
There's no, you know, it doesn't matter how much, you know, it riles you up inside. You're not going to get anything from it. And who knows? How many stories have you heard? The unlucky punch.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to put yourself in that place, do you? You know, you're better off being the bigger person and walking away from it. The person that wants to fight is going to be more pissed off with that. You know.
Yeah. And so if we go, how long were you with the services then, with the army?
I'd say it was 8 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't a long period of time.
Well, if you said 8 years, and you joined at 16, that was a third of your life at that point.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it that way, yeah, that's all right. That's too long.
Well, no, I'm just looking at that thing of your childhood for your teen years hasn't been great, and then you've done 8 years in the forces. So, what made you leave, and two, what was it like when you left? Because you've not really made independent choices, have you? Really, apart from joining up.
You've hit the nail on the head there perfectly. The reason why I left is, I mean, when I was in, there wasn't any. I didn't do any active service. You know, I got to go and see a lot of things and do a lot of things. I was still very young, you know, and we lost. You know, I lost a few friends through your troop members, your mates, you know, your buddies. And they were through things that happened through the services. You know, we had, you know, unfortunately, a couple of planes fall out of the sky, and you know, loss of crew members, and not just air dispatch, but the whole crew. You know, it's quite a big thing. You never knew. You know, I was flying, I don't know, up to 2 times a day, low level. You know, you don't know what's happening when you're stepping foot on a plane. It's not like stepping on a flight to wherever, you know, for a holiday. You're stepping on a plane that's getting thrown left, right and centre with a lot of weight in it. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. So that was one triggering thing, and I kind of thought, if I get out now, I'm still young enough to kind of make a start of my life.
Yeah.
Or do I stay in, have that security blanket, and come out the other end, you know, 20 odd years down the line, and be really comfortable. But then what happens in that period between? You know, you're in. You know, I couldn't see my life in. You know,
doing a full term.
Full of it.
Full service.
I had good mates on you know, on the outside in Sydney Street, however you want to call it. And I was like, do you know what? You know, I think I'm gonna get out. You know, whilst I'm feeling like this, get out. It was hard. It was hard to get out because they didn't want. You know, you spent all that money training you up, especially for air dispatch. You know, the cost of training an air dispatcher up was huge. So they didn't want you to leave. And I was just like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going for it. So yeah, I took that leap and just said, right, I've done. You know, I've enjoyed every second of what I've done, but I think now's a good time to leave.
Did you have anything to go to, or was it just like out and Right, now I'm got to think what I've got to do.
Yeah, they gave me. Yeah, again, I mean, this is down to how it was then. Now is probably a whole lot different, you know. But they gave you a settlement, but it wasn't anything amazing. They were like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I don't know. What's the choices? And it's like, sales. Fucking hell,
Okay.
that I do. So I went on a sales course.
And the services provided that?
Yeah, they
It sounds a bit like a school, and what's it called? You know, when they used to come round and
the careers advisor.
careers
yeah,
advisor
yeah.
comes round.
I mean, it was not very in depth. It was almost like, well, you've made the decision, right? Off you go, type thing. You know, yet again, I expect it's very different now. You know, and then that was it. Done.
How did you feel then? Or did it take time to sort of, was there a waking up or realisation, scary feeling?
If I was to tell you now, at the age of 48, I've just got the hang of this life.
Right. I'm not sure we ever do, I'll be honest. I'm not sure we do, honestly.
That kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
you're kind of like 8 years behind.
8 years, exactly that. And it's only 2 years ago when I started realising, I've got this now, and starting to realise, actually, I'm feeling okay. You know, I'm feeling okay about where I'm at in my life now. You know, I'm happy. I've got a job. I've got a career. You know, everything's good. And then I looked at it, and you're right. It was like, well, hang on a minute. I'm 8 years behind people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm right. You know, they say you start living in your 40s, don't they?
Right, yeah.
So was it, you were basically like an older looking teenager?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have that. Yeah. Yeah, I am an older looking teenager. But the transfer from you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
It's
the
like,
transition. I mean, I've known guys that have been in forces all their lives, and it's. In fact, I get some on. You know, you get some on mountain leader stuff that we do in courses, and some people you think, can you not? Why can't you do this? And it's because they haven't had to make them decisions because they've been told, they're basically being given direction.
Yeah.
For all the career.
You think about it. If you join at 16, you haven't had to worry about bills, rent, grown-up stuff. You know, let's face it, grown-up stuff. You know, where to buy your food. You know, anything. Cook. You're taught to iron, sew, look after your personal hygiene. Your rent's taken out your wages straight away. Your food's taken out your wages straight away. You don't have to worry about a roof over your head. You don't have to worry about, you know, anything really apart from you just focus on being a soldier. So if you join at 16 and then you leave at, let's say, 8 years like me, I'm like, well, I'm out into the wild here, and things spiraled.
Right, and not in a good way.
Not in a good way. And like I said, you know, it's not a woe is me story. It's like, and it you know, that happened to get to where I am now, you know, so it's a positive thing. But, you know, I'm fortunate because you hear and see stories of troops that have come out and they're homeless, you know, they're on the streets begging, and you can get your head around why then.
Yes, yeah, we have a big thing in this country about ex-servicemen on the streets, and am I right in saying there's some people that don't want to be in that normal life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to adapt if you've been in that.
Yeah.
It's hard, you know. But then, yet again, you look at, this is going to sound really bad when I say this, you look at that story of the soldier that's been in, they've come out, they can't adapt, and now they're on the streets begging. Then you've got the other side to it. Are there people using that that haven't been in?
Yeah.
Which belittles.
Well, I think we get that. Yeah, we definitely get that, don't we?
Yeah, and it's, you know,
People taking
it's a
advantage
tough one to look at that, isn't it? Because I mean, you can always go up and say, okay, what's your service number? You never forget your service number. 250-12759, bang. You know, if they know it, but you don't want to start questioning that, do you? You know, it's like they're hard up as it is, you know. So, yeah, it's I moved. I suppose I didn't know any better. I thought let's get out.
Yeah.
Did
Where did it take you mentally from losing that? Because you've gone into services from not in a great place because of the violence from. Was he your stepfather?
Yeah.
So from your stepfather. So you've gone in mainly because of that. So you've had a few years of abuse, a few years of violence. You've gone in because of that. You haven't got that support network around you, the family network, that have not probably stood up to this guy by the sounds of it, although I don't want to make assumptions. And then you've got this comfort, you've got this world around you where you're looked after because you're an asset in what you're doing, and they're paying for you, and then you come out, and it's like, oh, right, shit. So
lost. Lost, back to square one.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know. You don't know who to turn to. Really, you don't know a support network. That's gone. That's out the window. All your friends, you know, they're kind of in relationships, in jobs, in careers. And, you know, apart from driving something, which I didn't really want to do, pushing stuff out of a plane, that doesn't exist in, you know, civilian life, or knowing how to use a rifle, not very handy, or it's a bit frowned upon, do you know what I mean? You know, it was kind of like, I didn't know where I was or what to do at all. So I moved to London.
Okay.
Big wide world then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where everyone goes, isn't it? London. Of course it is. Didn't like it. It was a mistake. You know, just...
I've said that a few times when I've been in London.
What am I doing
That's
here?
just for the day. I'm out of my depth. I'm a northerner in London. It's not great. So.
How much for a pint?
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. So what were you looking for? What were you hoping to find in London?
I have no idea. And I still don't know what my trail of thought was or anything. It was just, I'm going to London. I didn't want to move back to Weston-super-Mare because it was kind of stepping back. Do you know what I mean?
Would that have been like a defeat?
Not a defeat as such. It was just like, I don't know. I think I still had something to prove to myself, and I think I might have been a bit too proud of like, oh, I don't want to go back there.
Do you think it might have been a waste of the 8 years if you'd have gone back? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it was. However, I did end up back there.
Right.
Because.
After 2 days in being in London.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Run out of money in 2 days.
It's just like, I just couldn't get my head around how money worked. You know, I had a little bit of salary left over from the army to kind of get me through, and I just didn't understand how that worked. So you just said like money in London, gone, isn't it? So I was just like, right, this was a mistake. I'll move back to Weston. And there I was.
Right, without causing controversy and complaints. Look at said like, oh no, what's he going to say? It's not a fair comparison, I suppose, but there's got to be somewhere, as in, if someone had served 8 years in prison, and then they get released, and they're not adjusted back into society, do you think it's very similar? Not on a.
I can't.
Obviously, it's got to be looked at differently.
Yeah, I can't. Obviously, not obviously. You know, no one really is. I haven't served time personally, so I can't give a. Don't say that. Fucking hell. I'm not on route for serving time either. I can imagine there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. I just wonder. The question just popped up because if someone's been in prison, then generally they don't get a break. You know what I mean? It's like, they deserve everything they get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people will tend not to help give someone a helping hand. But
Yeah.
if you've been in services,
Well,
funny
you used to say that. I mean, looking back on it now, looking back, when I left the army, I had a chip on my shoulder. I thought the world owed me something.
Right.
Because, hang on a minute, I've put my arse on the line. Yeah, it might have only been 8 years. But I had the guts to put my arse on the line for Queen and Country. Not that I'm really bothered, not a royalist or anything. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, I'm owed something here, and that was it. Looking back on it, was a horrible way to be. Expecting, shit out of people because I'd done what I'd done. It was a job at the end of the day. Looking back on it, that's all it was. And I think my attitude didn't help a lot either. With that, I didn't want to do a job. I wanted to do something better than whatever I could get. I wanted to do the best thing. Didn't know that you have to work your way up. So my attitude stank. It really did.
So with your stinking attitude,
Yeah.
where did that take you? Because obviously that's a mindset in it as well.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting what you wanted and what you're expecting, then you can get a bit of anger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then go, I suppose, in, like you said before, like a descending circles. Yeah.
Yeah, moved back to Weston. Ended up staying. My mum had moved out of the house, which everything happened to, and so but I ended up staying there whilst it was on the market, and just kind of couldn't find my way, apart from finding my way to the pub. I found that very easy. I started getting in debt because I wasn't earning money. Started loaning money off my mates. Again, it was just my attitude stank, and drinking a lot.
So was that an escapism?
Probably, yeah. It was.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be in real world again, I suppose.
It's very common though, isn't it, in this country?
Yeah.
Especially.
It's
It's just that drinking culture.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely did it with the PTSD. It was the first thing, that. How can I fit in? Well, I've got to be drunk.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could tolerate being around people, really.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's just available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there. You can just walk in what essentially is a shop with people in buying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you go out and drink, if you went out and drink 10 pints, you're a bit of a hero.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if you said that you're doing, I don't know, 10 hits of heroin a day, then it's like,
Yeah, frowned upon.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I mean, looking at drugs, the booze. Joining the army at 16, I hadn't had time to experiment. You kind of, you shouldn't do it, but everyone kind of dips their toe in at a younger age maybe to try out, pills or whatever, speed, coke, or whatever. So
I bet there's a lot of that in the German army.
I have actually.
There was at one point.
Who told you that?
I know a guy that once served.
Yeah.
Did a little bit of work with him. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of played. I think I discovered drugs.
Right.
Again,
an escapism.
Yeah, just that, like, fucking if I take a pill, everything's all right. Oh fucking hell, what's this? Cocaine? Yeah, well, let's have a go at that. And
It'll make my attitude even better.
Yeah. You want to see my stinking attitude now?
Yeah.
I'm really arrogant right now.
Yeah.
And I kind of I got quite into it. I was good at it. It got to me, and so I was doing drugs, doing alcohol.
Was this in a party situation or by yourself or?
It got to a stage where I was doing coke by myself, and that's when I was like, right, okay, this shit's got to stop. I got ill. I got I could feel myself, no nutrients in my body and stuff like that. my mates, you know, were just like, look, I need that money back, and you know, I was just loaning more money off them and shoving it up my nose or drinking it, you know. And I was just like, oh, come on, you know, I'm down, get a grip, come on, you know, really having to have a word with myself, right? Let's get the fuck out of this.
So, did you manage to get out of it by yourself, or did you have to get? Did
No,
you speak to her or?
No, I you know, I got out of it by myself.
All right, cool.
You know, I'm not saying that was the end of the story.
Yeah.
You know, by no means. You know, it's when I got up to Leeds, it kind of, you know, I got back into the Leeds party scene.
Yeah, but I think what we're sort of, I think all three of us are wise enough to know through our own experiences of working in night scene, and there's a difference between a party and going in on a party scene and a party by yourself. Isn't there? Yeah.
Party for one's not good.
No.
Party for one's never.
That's
good.
when it becomes a distraction, escapism. Yeah, rather than an enhancement of your evening.
Yeah. It's when it's like that. That's when you've either got to acknowledge it, or someone's got to give you a helping hand to say, right, if you're doing that by yourself, you need to stop it.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been a whole different story. You know, for any of us, if you know, if you're kind of enjoying something too much.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have people around you just to help you pull you out, or you've got to have the
Give you that realisation, really, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then that was it. I had to get out of Weston because of those reasons.
So this is like the third big decision you made in your life, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first one was, I'm going to the army.
Yeah.
Second one, I'm leaving the army.
Yeah.
Third one, I need to leave Weston because
Yeah.
I'm in a mess.
Yeah. And me and my mate who partied quite heavily as well, we were both. So I was just like, I'm going, I'm moving out. You know, I've got to sort myself out. And he said, oh yeah, you know, I'd be up for moving out of Weston. So we came up with this genius plan of how we were going to get out of Weston and where we were going to go. We were drunk at the time.
Best plans.
Yeah. We got a map of the UK and we put it out on the floor. And we said, right, we're going to get a pen, right? We're going to turn round. We're going to throw this pen over our shoulders, right? And wherever it lands is where we're moving to. Right, okay, this is it. So like maps out on the floor, sweaty palms, right? This is the big moment, you know, like this really would be the thing. And we threw the pen over our shoulders. And we're like, turned round and it landed bang on Birmingham.
Really?
Yeah, so we picked it up
Yeah.
and we did it again.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry for
friends in
anyone from Birmingham, but it just wasn't where I wanted to go at that time.
Okay.
Too close to Weston.
I thought you were going to say Skegness or something like that.
No,
Like
no.
This still
opposite
sounds
side.
like it was still in black and white.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
still in black and white now.
Yeah.
We're not at Technicolor yet. That comes at the end.
So, can I ask, were you into music then?
Yeah.
Okay.
My best mate, who was my best man as well, at a wedding, goes under the name of Little Mark. He's called Mark Currell. He moved to Weston when I think we were 11, 12, and he was from London, and he was very exotic in Weston, a Londoner. All right, Mary. And he moved with his family to Weston. We were at the same junior school together, and then he went to a different secondary school and I went to, but we were thick as thieves. Still thick as thieves now. And he was massively into house music.
Right.
Like as we kind of you got older, and he still is. He's amazing producer and amazing DJ, and he kind of like he was like I looked up to him, although he's I think slightly shorter. If you're listening, Mark, I'm taking that one. I always looked up to him. You know, when I was in the army, he was doing music. You know, so when I used to see him, I used to kind of like hang out. We used to, you know, just used to play records. I used to watch him, and it was him that got me into music. So when I got out, that was kind of like something I kind of went back into.
I probably should have mentioned before that's where you sort of are now, is it?
Yeah.
Events, music, DJing.
Events, music, DJing. I suppose if you look at it in a way of a business, I've been within it for about 20 years.
Right.
I've DJ'd, produced, had studios, owned a record store, owned bars, which are based around music. I now have an events company that hire out sound systems and DJ equipment, and we had a little festival.
You did. I got taken home from that.
Yeah, which you were at.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. You didn't come to that.
Was
did
that
you,
the one in Barnsley?
No.
Wakefield.
Wakefield.
Is that another festival that you got taken over?
Taking me over time to come from that one.
With Tom.
Yeah, with Tom
okay.
Ford that we mentioned at the start. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose my career is still within the music business.
So on the lines of us being a mental health giving information, what's the music done? As it works miracles with you? Has there been something through music that's helped with your mindset, do you think? Because you've lasted 20 years in this without changing.
Yeah.
By the look of it, you've done a few things, but around music.
Yeah.
But them decisions up to come into music have all been big decisions, haven't they? That have just changed.
Yeah.
Changed your life direction.
What I will say, it's a tightrope.
Right.
It's a very, very wobbly tightrope. There are two sides to it, and you've got to be really careful. I've seen and been in both sides of it.
Right.
The dark side of it, and the side that I'm in now, and
right, yeah.
touch wood will continue to be in the positive side. The music scene, as everyone knows, especially the music scene that's based around, well, no, every music scene, it doesn't matter whether it's electronic or not. There's a dark side to it which involves drugs and drink. You know, and there's no denying that. You know, you go out, you go to a gig, people get pissed, people take drugs. You know, it's happened for generations. It will always happen. And there's the other side of it where a lot of people that have been on the drink and drug side realise that that's no longer for them, and they go into the more sober side, the more healthy side of it. And I mean, we know people. You know, we mentioned the guy earlier.
Yeah. Well, we had Brandon on, didn't we? Brandon Block on one of the early shows, and I mean, his fame and notoriety, or his notoriety, led to his fame, didn't it? And we're both, you know, of how much he was caring it then. But now, you know, he's working with all these charities and doing the mental health stuff. Yeah, it's such a great story of a comeback.
It's, you know, when you look at people like him that were
turned down, sorry. Yeah.
Like you say, famous for taking a lot.
Well, it's the with the parties, but then obviously the media got hold of it, didn't they?
Yeah.
So he's playing Space Terrace and all that lot, and got the, you know, super famous party, but then obviously media and advertising it as all this, you know, drug taking and stuff, which he talks about openly, and which he's passing on and teaching, much like we're talking about now, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, it's like I said, because I've been on two sides of it. It's damaged my mental health to the point of rock bottom, where I was stood underneath a tree looking for a bit of rope to hang myself. Right. To that point, which then has, you know, springboarded me to the other side of it.
Okay, yeah.
You know. So come back stronger, do you think? Yeah, massively. Yeah. Massively. Yeah. You know, it was when I had, I think for quite a long period of time I was battling with depression, and it was at the time where I was opening the 212, which is the first bar that I opened, and realising, shit, I'm surrounded by drink a lot. This is my job now. There were people coming into the bar, do you want a drink? No. Do you want a drink? And after a while, you kind of drinking more.
Yeah, I'll just have one.
Yeah, that's it. You know, next thing you know, you're drinking quite heavily, and then obviously you're surrounded by other temptations all the time. You know, and it kind of ate away at me, and that then triggered my depression more to when I ended up on, you know, antidepressants.
Right.
And I think they say you shouldn't drink on antidepressants. There's a reason for it, you know. And I remember just like not coming home early enough. My wife does breakfast radio.
Yeah.
At the time, she did breakfast radio. We had
That's Jojo, by the way.
Yeah,
if anyone's
Jojo.
wondering.
I love you. Right, you know I was going to tell this story, so it's no shock to her.
Yeah.
And our son was about 7, 8, and it was my job to take him to school, and we missed it. And Jojo had to put our son in a taxi at that age because I'd stayed out, and that was it.
Right.
I was like, I'm not fit to be a father. I'm not fit to be a human. And I just walked, and then next thing you know, I was there. And if there was, I reckon if I found a bit of rope, that would have been the worst decision I would have made. You know, because I didn't need to do it. But when you're in that mindset, when the drugs and alcohol have just beaten you and eaten you up that much.
Yeah. We spoke, didn't we? We've recorded a podcast about my sort of PTSD story, and we did mention during lockdown I'd lost a friend. He took his own life, and we were drinking too much, and I'd gone out to a party actually, you know, an illegal lockdown party, and I got home at 5 a.m, and I was just like, I could actually hear me climbing. I've got a house full of climbing ropes. I know, you know, my mum had died and all this lot, and basically getting into debt because I wasn't getting paid out, and I just heard these climbing ropes talking to me saying, just do it. And I think if I hadn't gone through all my stuff a long time ago, the PTSD stuff, and gone through that 10 years and I just went, you know what, I'll think about, I'll sleep on it, and I'll have a little think tomorrow when I get up. And you're like, now I've thought of sober mind. Yeah. So it's
just that snap decision could have changed the whole story, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we both wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I had the ropes. Fortunately, I kept them away from you.
I know, yeah. Good job I didn't know where you lived. No, you're not. I know. Can't borrow a rope.
Do you know what I actually? It's comical when well, it's not. But you go back, and I actually thought, all my friends are going to slag me because that's a waste of a good climbing rope.
No, you didn't use that one, did you?
No. Oh, no. 150 quid rope and he's strung. Anyway. But yeah, we got through that, through experience. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of these things that you I suppose you can see why people are getting in that position when they've the depression, bad mood, poor mood, lack of sleep. I'm reading this book about, you know, lack of sleep, which possibly caused by the drugs, and then the alcohol. It's a depressive anyway, and then someone makes a decision like that, and it's you're not coming back from it. So
no, and it I mean, you've got to be in a dark place to even think about that. But I mean, you know this, Seb. I don't know if you do, and if you have, you know, fair play for, you know, being out the other side of it. That snap decision is literally a split second of do I, don't I? Don't. It's just, don't.
Have a think about it next day.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's
sleep on
quick as that. That's it.
Yeah. Have a think about it as much as in, like, getting a tattoo. You know, how am I going to get this tattoo? I'll think about it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned that on mine. If we ever put it out.
We will put that out. Yeah. I was just going to say, Adam mentioned that as well, didn't he? When he did his podcast, and it was kind of.
And again, that was an alcohol-related one, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. You just your head's not on your shoulders. Wait till it is.
Well, it's this subconscious voice, isn't it, telling you, this angry chimp in your head telling you, you need to do that, you need to do that, you need to do that, and then but that voice gets stronger due to the influences that we put on ourselves. I mean, stress as well, and all sorts, I suppose.
Yeah. But fortunately,
You're here.
I'm here. No
Well, we're
rope.
glad you're here.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you
glad
very
you're here,
much.
yes.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So where are we at now on this upward trend?
So the upward trend is like, okay, so, you know,
I bet Jojo were going to knock Pony at you for that.
do you know what? I don't know
She's
which
a big
one.
character, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, we've been married at that point. I'm not going to do the maths. We've been married 18 years. You know, without Joe by my side, I probably wouldn't be here. Do you know what I mean? That's fact. You know, I owe, you know, everything in my life to Jojo, because she's had to put up with me being depressed. Anyone in a relationship where one person's depressed and you've got to support that person, that has got to be such a toll on a relationship, such a big thing. So, you know, hats off to anyone that's supporting their other half in that situation, and do it, you know, stick with it, because they will pop out the other side, you know, all of a sudden everything, you know, will sit right.
And hopefully pop out stronger for the experience.
Yeah. But you've you know, like I said, you know, I had Jojo, you know, and she was just a massive support, you know, and helped me come through and out the other side of it, and then on the way up, you know, to where I'm at now, which is, like I said at the start, I'm best played. I've got the hang of this life thing, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's good to see, mate. Really good to see.
Thank you.
I was just thinking then, you know, you had the support of Jojo, whereas if you hadn't had that support and it had been a group of sort of male friends, it might have been that sort yourself out, man the fuck up.
Yeah.
Which we've got to consign to the dustbin.
That's got to go. I mean, fortunately, it's still got that kind of weird feeling, asking your mate, "Are you all right? Are you really all right?" Do you know what I mean? It can feel really awkward. Are you right? Do you want to talk about anything?
I think
No, I'd rather have a pint.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, we could go out and have a pint. What are you getting at? Do you know what I mean?
It is difficult. Yeah.
It's hard, and I know when people ask me, how are you now? I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, and I still feel weird
Yeah,
saying.
you still think, well, actually, I'm a bit shit inside.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, you've got to get past that. Yeah.
So from now,
Yeah.
where what we got on? What's happening with bar music?
But
Festivals. I know
yeah.
you've organised a little get together when I'm not here. You've
Yeah.
organised it around my diary
I know.
after my performance at the festival.
I know it definitely wasn't out. If anything, we want you back. It was highly entertaining.
Yeah,
Although
just
I didn't
loving
see
life,
anything, yeah.
loving life in a field.
Yeah.
Getting
And loving the field.
Yeah, touching my hippie ways, mate. This is it. I'm getting married barefoot, so
Were you running around naked?
not quite. No,
No.
it was a bit cold for that. I would have embarrassed myself. So what have we got on? 'Cause we're gonna have to
So-
start wrapping up, unfortunately. before we get thrown out.
So basically, I came out of the bars. You know, left that life behind for lots of reasons. But it just, you know, the bars were going in a different direction to what I set out to do, and they're still surviving now. And you know, Stu's still running it now, and hats off to him. You know, he's got through a difficult situation with COVID. Myself, I launched Airstream Events, which has now kind of moulded into a hire company. Its source is a hire company for DJ equipment, whether it's mixers, CDJs, turntables, and sound systems, and that's really, really taken off. I've kind of found my groove with that. Excuse the pun. And I'm DJing still, but just picking out the gigs that I want to do rather than I never pushed myself as a DJ. I've kind of taken a back seat, but just choosing the gigs that are right for me, ones that are in the daytime, so I can get my 8 hours sleep in.
Yeah, I will tell you this book when I finish.
Please
It's
do.
bloody
I'm up for
ridiculous.
that.
Mate, it's scary. It is scary when you think of how much sleep we've not had.
Yeah,
So I think unfortunately we've got to wrap up there.
no, that's cool.
But first of all, thank you for talking to me and mentioning it, and that you'd be prepared to come on. really good story, and it should hopefully.
And thank you for talking to me too.
Yeah. No, thank you, sir. And thank you for your story
No,
before we went on air.
I mean, I did mean talking to me before we spoke here, Seb. Come on, don't be feel
I don't feel offended.
I told you earlier, it took us 5 episodes to get him to talk.
Yeah, no, he can't stop.
And you'll
it.
notice the camera's not on him. You know.
Yeah.
It's very shy, very shy.
Yeah.
Off camera, he'll tell you anything.
Yeah, won't he just?
He's not the shy, retiring guy that we present here. So, as we're saying, yeah, thanks for coming up to me and saying that you'd be prepared to do a podcast, and then coming in and speaking to me and Seb.
Yeah,
I'm sure the listeners will love it, and anyone that's sort of going through something in a situation or sampling, unfortunately, bits that you've gone through will be inspired. So
Yeah, I hope it. Thanks for having me on. It's been nice. It's been like therapy. So getting a bit of.
well, you said you'd listen to Dicko's, and
Yeah,
Dicko said
yeah.
the same, didn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's been good. So
Yeah.
thank you very much
Yeah.
for having me on.
Right,
Definitely.
Cheers.
Thank you very much for sharing your story.
Yeah,
enjoyed
thank you.
it.
cool.
It's good.
So, Seb,
Charlie.
that's us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wraps
Wrapping
up
up.
and go. Yeah.
Right, see you later.
Take care.
Bye.
So I'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsor, who are Energy Impact, and also our supporters, Product Agency up there in Newcastle, who are supplying our designs, etc., and Common Sense Clothing, who supply us with our very, very nice apparel. And if you'd like to support us and help us keep the podcast going, then you can go to buy us a coffee, or you can click that on our website, whitefoxtalking.com, and look for the little cup. Thank you.